Hi, my name's Kyle Farmer, and I'm a business immigration attorney, and I help employers strategize to end their labor shortages. As a little bit of housekeeping, I'm going to start these things every time with housekeeping. Uh, we're going to get into the details of farm labor contractors' applications for their license, but then also the actual additional filing requirements for farm labor contractors. So if you're anything like me, you are super excited about this, but you're probably not anything like me because I don't know what rational person would be so excited about this, but I get all jazzed up about H-2A. So I get all jazzed up about farm labor contractors applications. Uh, but anyways, so we are going to go into some pretty excruciating detail here. You just kind of got to hold on and we'll work through it. If you are not a farm labor contractor, this one probably won't be as applicable to you. It's still a lot of times a good thing to get to know, though, just because a lot of times people don't start off as farm labor contractors and they have an opportunity and they branch out into being a farm labor contractor. So, anyways, we're going to get into the farm labor contractors applications. We're all extremely excited about it. And then at the end, we're going to have an FAQ, or I guess just a Q&A, FAQ, all these acronyms. Anyways, we're going to have a Q&A session where you can ask me about anything, whether it is H-2A related, immigration related, compliance related, whatever you want. We do all sorts of visa applications. So if you do have any other questions for any other type of application that you're filing right now or interested in filing, just let me know. We can talk about it during the Q&A section. Let's go ahead and get started, though. Farm labor contractors processes. So first question, what is a farm labor contractor? A farm labor contractor, or as the regulations refer to them, an H-2A LC, is defined in 20 CFR 655-103 as any person who meets the definition of employer and is not a fixed site employer. A fixed site employer you can think of as like the actual farmer. So any person who's an employer that's not a fixed site employer, an agricultural association, or an employee of a fixed site employer agricultural association who recruits, solicits, hires, employs, furnishes, houses, or transports any worker subject to 8 U.S.C. 1188, 20 CFR Part 501, or the subpart, which is the 20 CFR 655. Now, most people will read that and think, I don't know what any of that means, so can you please say it differently? And this isn't a perfect summary, but it does tend to work. If you want to simplify it from an employer's perspective, a farm labor contractor is an employer that performs work on someone else's farm, recruits or transport, solicits or transports workers. So if I'm going to work on someone else's farm picking strawberries, I require a farm labor contractor's license. If I'm bringing H-2A visa workers to work on my farm to pick my strawberries, I don't require a farm labor contractor's license. If I'm an agent or an attorney filing H-2A visa applications, I require a farm labor contractor's license. If I am recruiting workers or transporting H-2A visa workers, I require a farm labor contractor's license. Hopefully that clears that up. So, requirements for farm labor contractors. Farm labor contractors have a bunch of different requirements that aren't required for fixed site owners. One of the first ones is a farm labor contractor must name the location in each fixed site agricultural business to which the farm labor contractor expects to provide H-2A workers, the expected beginning and end dates when the farm labor contractor will be providing the workers to each fixed site, and the description of the crops and activities the workers are expected to perform at such site. So this is done in the form of an itinerary, but you do need to make sure that with all of your written contracts with the fixed site owners, which we'll get into what that contract needs to look like, but whenever the written information that you're providing on your itinerary needs to be consistent with those written contracts with each of those fixed site owners. So be sure to make sure you have a agreement with each person or each farmer or each general contractor for each site location and ingress egress agreement if necessary. Again, we'll get into that in just a little bit, but you'll have an itinerary, and you're going to need to make sure that your contracts match your itinerary. Okay, so the single most fun part about being a farm labor contractor is if you're required under MSPA, a farm labor contractor certificate of registration is required. So just to show you what that looks like. Oh, by the way, we always recommend that you complete this application at least 12 weeks before your initial date of need. That's not an exaggeration in terms of timeline. That office is super slow. They've got 6 employees working in there, and we're talking on June 16, 2021, 6 employees servicing the whole country, all the entities and all the drivers for those entities. You got 6 people processing all those applications. So they've got a ton of work. They take 9 or 10 weeks to get your application back to you, new FLCs or FLCEs. So complete it 12 weeks beforehand so it doesn't hold up your application, because it will. It oftentimes does. So get that FLC and FLCE in. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to, I'm going to pull this up real quick. Sorry, bear with me for just a second. All right. All right. Well, let's see. There we go. All right. So here is, sorry about that. This is your actual FLC application. So you got to do this part, whether you are applying for an FLC or an FLCE. You got to make sure to fill this thing out perfectly. If you don't, they will send it back. And if they send it back, you're getting put to the end of the line, which is going to stretch your application process more like 20, 24 weeks. So make sure that you're doing it right the first time, or have someone do it for you that knows what they're doing, which we do these. So if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out or want us to do your FLC application, which we do for all of our clients, then just reach out to us. But anyways, you'll go through each of these questions, answer these questions about crimes. If you have certain crimes, they will disqualify you from getting a farm labor contractor's license. You have to complete this portion as well. What you would intend on doing, number of H-2A workers, H-2B workers. So this is the actual FLC application. With this, you're going to be providing vehicle inspection. You're going to be providing workers' compensation certificate of insurance. In the description, it needs to have a list of the vehicles by make, model, year, and VIN. The certificate holder needs to be the Department of Labor's office in San Francisco. You have to do vehicle inspections, housing inspections, and you got to submit those all with it. Fingerprint card for the person that's going to be applying. And if you're going to be doing FLCE applications at the same time, assuming you're going to be transporting your workers from one work site to another. So anybody driving needs to get an FLCE. FLCE, basically the same thing, but for the employees. So instead of the FLC, you're be clicking FLCE, initial renewal. Go through this part. You don't have to do this page. Don't have to do this page. Don't have to do this portion, but then you do got to pick it up here, finish her out here. And then the supporting documents with an FLCE application, which is an authorized driver, front and back copy of the driver's license, fingerprint card, medical inspection. Again, those are all forms that we could send you. So just feel free to reach out and ask. Now let's get into a little bit of detail on, okay, how many vehicles do I need? How many drivers do I need? And how do I know if I need more? So this is where FLCs get to be so fun. I know you're as pumped about this as I am, and I'm really pumped. So very excited. I'm applying for 30 workers. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to have my 30 guys. They're going to come up here and they're going to work their butts off. We're going to get a lot of work done and serve a lot of good farmers. So I've got my 30 guys, got my 2 15-passenger vans. I'm an FLCE driver. My wife is an FLCE driver. So we're good. We've got 30 spots in our vans for our 30 guys. We apply with the Department of Labor, and the Department of Labor comes back and says, wait a second. You're a driver. Your wife's a driver. That means there's only 14 spots in each of your vans, which means you've got spots for 28 people, not 30 people. So then what do you have to do? Well, I still need all 30 guys. I don't need 28 guys. I need 30 guys. So what I got to do, got to add a vehicle, got to add an FLCE, or in the alternative, got to get a vehicle that transports more than 15 people. So you can kind of see how it gets complicated. And these are things that you want to be weighing 12 weeks in advance before you get your workers. So, okay, how many guys am I think I'm going to need? This is how many seats I need. These are the vehicles I have. This means I need that many drivers. So this means that I need that many FLCE applications. So it gets pretty complicated. If you have questions on that, feel free to ask them. I know that that's a lot to digest, but that is where it gets complicated and where it gets frustrating, because now I'm in the middle of my application. I've got spots for 28 people. I don't have them for 30. So now what do? Do I accept the partial certification? Is there some other way to remedy that issue? Or I just got to wait my 10 to 12 weeks for my new FLCE to come in, and then I'll be good to go. So a little piece of advice, make sure to have at least one driver per vehicle and plenty of seating capacity for your workers, excluding the driver unless the driver is also an H-2A worker. All right. FAQs on FLCs. How often do I need to renew my FLC and my FLCEs? So you have to apply for your FLC your first year, your second year, and then every other year. First year, second year, every other year. So year 1, year 2, year 4, year 6, year 8. Whenever you're applying for your renewal, a lot of times you don't have to submit some of the supporting documents. So the renewals tend to be easier than the initial applications, but you do have to renew them that often, and you have to renew them at a minimum 30 days in advance and at a maximum 60 days in advance. If you apply that far in advance, the Department of Labor considers your application timely submitted, which is good. If it's not timely submitted and you have H-2A guys here, you're in violation of the regulations, and you can't do anything to push your application along. Whereas if it is timely submitted, you might be able to. How far in advance do I need to submit my application? This is what we talked about earlier, at least 12 weeks. Give them time to process that application because you're going to need it. Does the Department of Labor charge for farm labor contractors licenses? They do not. So it's free. The only thing they charge is a lot of time. So you need to be able to afford to give them that time, not let it hold up your application. So what everyone is probably asking at this point is, who's exempt from having a farm labor contractor's license, and how can I possibly be them? Well, these are the people that are exempt, the family business exemption, small business exemption. And if you want to find these, because I'm not going to read all of them, but 29 USC 1803. The one that comes up the most is this one right here. Any custom combine, hay harvesting, or sheep shearing operation. That's the one that comes up the most. So they don't need an FLC or FLCEs. Now, an important point to make with that, though, is just because they don't need the FLC and they don't need the FLCEs, that doesn't mean that they don't need to complete the requirements, because they do. They don't have to file for the certificate of registration. They still have to do the medical inspections. They still have to have a copy of the driver's license front and back. Vehicles still have to be insured. So you've still got to do a lot of the things associated with a farm labor contractor's license application, or an FLCE application at least. So, sorry. But at least you're not waiting 12 weeks for the Department of Labor to check the boxes to say that you did it. All right. So I have my FLC in hand. I have enough FLCEs, vehicle seating capacity, to accommodate both my drivers and my workers. And I'm submitting my application to the Department of Labor. One of the additional requirements is proof of it's the company's ability to discharge financial obligations under the H-2A program. And you do this by including with the application for temporary employment certification the original surety bond. The bond must clearly identify the issuer, the name, the address, phone number, and contact person for the surety bond, and provide the amount of the bond and any identifying designation used by the surety for the bond. So usually the question that people ask me now is, wait, what is a surety bond? The easiest way to think of a surety bond is just think of it as insurance as it relates to your obligations under the H-2A program. So you are a H-2A employer. You don't know this, but you learn that the person you're using to recruit and process your workers is charging your workers $1,500 a person. This isn't uncommon, by the way. Department of Labor doesn't care whether you knew about it or not. They see that this happened with 100 workers. So 100 workers times $1,500, you're $150,000 in the hole in back wages for that person caught charging your workers. And the Department of Labor also decides to fine you because the severity of the violation, about $1,800 a person times 100 workers, another $180,000. You're a total of $330,000 in the hole. So you have to bankrupt your company. No way can you afford $330,000 of back wages and civil money penalties. So what the Department of Labor will do is they'll say, okay, well, that sucks that they had to file bankruptcy, but luckily we can call their surety bond, call their insurance, basically under their H-2A program, and we get $75,000 out of it. That's how the bonds work. It's just to ensure your ability to meet the financial obligations of the H-2A program. The amount of the bond, now whenever we're talking about the amount of the bond, we're talking about the amount of coverage of the bond, not the amount the bond costs, because the bond doesn't cost that much. It's a $5,000 bond for labor certifications with fewer than 25 employees, $10,000 with certifications with 25 to 49 employees, $20,000 with certifications 50 to 74 employees, $50,000 for certification 75 to 99 employees, and $75,000 for labor certification with 100 or more employees. So as you can see, it goes up incrementally. Your costs also go up. That's the next question everyone always asks is how much does it cost to get a surety bond? It varies based off of the financial position and credit of the person and or company applying. A lot of times I'll see a $5,000 surety bond costs $150. So what's the surety bond cover? Liability incurred during the term of the work contract period listed on the H-2A application. How long does it need to remain in effect? A lot of times, if you use your own surety, this will be one of the questions that they ask. If we're filing your application, we get your bond for you, so you don't have to worry about it. But this would be a question that they would be asking, and the answer is at least 2 years from the expiration date of the labor certification. So we're going to go into the work contracts, but right now I just want to take a moment so that you can see why I'm so excited about farm labor contractors, all the regulations, all the hurdles. It's just so much fun to learn about and so much fun to get to know. So, all right, sorry. I'll be done nerding out on farm labor contractors for a minute. So what are the requirements? Fully executed work contracts. The way that we do this is in the form of a farm labor agreement. This is what it looks like. It's between the farm company, AKA the farmer, or the general contractor. We do a lot of work for agricultural construction companies. And so that, also could be the farm labor contractor or the general contractor. And the farm labor contractor. The farm labor contractor is you, the person that holds the FLC is the one who you put in that one. So you just complete this form. You're going to have to do this with each fixed site owner or general contractor listed on your application. Um, and yeah, that's just the nature of it. So if you do have any other question or if you want any additional information or to speak with me directly about anything H-2A related, non H-2A related, you can contact me here, 512-894-2128. That is my direct email. So use it wisely. Uh, that's our website. We can go ahead and get on to the Q&A session. Thank you.